the noise complaint queen. The first time Karen knocked on my door, it wasn't to say hello. It was to hand me a printed copy of the HOA noise policy, highlighted, underlined, and stapled twice. I had just moved into the neighborhood with my friends, Dylan and Mia. We were musicians, loud ones. My garage had turned into our jam spot, with amps, drums, and tangled cables everywhere. Music was our life. Unfortunately, to Karen, it was a violation of suburban peace. She stood there in her floral blouse, clipboard tucked under one arm, lips pursed like she'd just bitten a lemon. According to Section 4B of the HOA agreement, she began, loud or disruptive noises are prohibited between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. You were playing Metallica? I smiled. Actually, it was our original song. Her frown deepened. Even worse. Dylan peeked from behind me, whispering, "Does she know this is America?" I elbowed him before Karen's glare could melt his face. The moment she left, we laughed it off. But the next day, we got an official notice taped to the garage door. And the next, and the next. Karen wasn't just annoyed. She was on a mission. Every sound, a guitar riff, a snare tap, even Mia's humming, was suddenly disturbing the neighborhood tranquility. I tried to reason with her once. "Karen, we're just practicing for a local charity gig." "Charity begins with silence," she snapped. When she called the HOA board on us, they sent an email threatening fines. That's when Dylan suggested the craziest idea of all. "What if we give her what she really wants?" I frowned. "Which is?" He grinned. "A front row seat." The plan was wild, borderline insane. But after the 10th warning letter, something in me snapped too. Karen wanted a show? We'd give her one. We started preparing, sound checks, lights, portable speakers. The whole neighborhood was already curious about us. Why not make it official? On Saturday morning, while Karen was out trimming her perfect hedges, we rolled our equipment across the street and set it up right on her lawn. When she came out and saw the stage, her jaw dropped so far I thought it might hit the grass. What is this?" she screamed. I grabbed the mic, smiled, and said, "You said our music was too loud for the garage, so we brought it closer." The first strum of Dylan's guitar echoed through the neighborhood. Like a thunderclap, Karen's hands flew to her ears, but the crowd forming around her fence? They were cheering. Phones out. Cameras rolling. The HOA might have hated us, but the neighborhood was about to love us. The moment our first song ended, the crowd burst into applause. Kids from the nearby cul-de-sac danced on the sidewalk. Parents clapped along. And even old Mr. Thompson gave us a thumbs up from his porch. Karen, however, looked like she was about to explode. She stormed back into her house, yelling something about legal action and decibel violations. We thought she'd cool off. We were wrong. 10 minutes later, a white SUV rolled up, the HOA patrol. 2 board members stepped out, both wearing matching polo shirts and the expression of people who've never smiled in a decade. "Turn it off," one of them shouted, pointing at us. "This is an official HOA warning." Dylan leaned into the mic and said, "You hear that, folks? The HOA wants an encore." The crowd roared with laughter. Karen reappeared on her porch, filming everything on her phone. "You're violating community guidelines," she yelled. "You'll be fined for this." I walked up to her fence, keeping my voice calm. "Karen, we're just playing music. Everyone's having fun. Why not join?" She scowled. "I'll join when pigs fly." Right on cue. Mia hit a high note so wild that a flock of pigeons took off from a nearby roof. Dylan whispered, "Close enough." The HOA board tried to cut our power by pulling the extension cord. Too bad. We had a backup generator. When they realized it, one of them muttered, "This is getting out of hand." By the second song, the crowd had doubled. Neighbors brought lawn chairs. Someone even sold lemonade. Karen's lawn had turned into the most happening concert venue in the entire county. But then came the sirens. Karen had called the cops. 2 officers pulled up, stepping out with amused looks. One said, "We got a noise complaint. What's going on here?" Before I could answer, a little girl ran up and said, "It's a concert. They're awesome." The officer smiled. "Well, technically, as long as it's before 8 p.m. and not blocking the street, it's fine." Karen's face turned red. "Fine. They're destroying my property value." The officer tilted his head. "Actually, looks like you've got the most popular house in the neighborhood right now." Laughter erupted. Karen stomped her foot and stormed inside. slamming the door so hard that her welcome sign fell off. We finished our set with a bang, fireworks, safe ones, and all. The crowd chanted our name, and we took a bow right there on her perfect lawn. That night, our performance went viral. The clip titled HOA Karen vs. The Garage Band hit 100,000 views in 24 hours. Karen had lost the battle, but we knew she wasn't done yet. Because the next morning, we woke up to something taped to our garage door. It was a summons for an emergency HOA hearing. Monday morning hit like a bad hangover. We weren't tired from the concert. We were tired from the HOA paperwork taped to our garage. The letter read, "You are hereby summoned to an emergency HOA disciplinary hearing regarding multiple violations of community policy, including unauthorized events, property misuse, and public disturbance." Dylan squinted at the paper. Property misuse? We didn't misuse it. We improved it. Mia chuckled nervously. Yeah, but on Karen's lawn. By 6 p.m., we walked into the community clubhouse, or as I called it, Karen's courtroom. The place smelled like old coffee and fake politeness. Karen sat at the center of a long table, flanked by 5 HOA board members. She wore a blazer this time, like she was preparing for trial. A stack of photos and printed screenshots sat in front of her, probably from our concert. When we entered, she smirked. "The rock stars have arrived." I smiled back. "We prefer the term community entertainers." The board chair cleared his throat. "Let's begin. Mrs. Jenkins, you filed the complaint." Karen nodded eagerly. "Yes, they trespassed on my property, disturbed the peace, and lowered the tone of our neighborhood. Look." She slid photos across the table, shots of kids dancing, people cheering, and our band playing on her lawn. "Does this look like a respectable community to you?" Dylan leaned over and whispered, "Actually, it looks like a festival." I stifled a laugh. When it was our turn to speak, I stood. "With all due respect, we didn't cause chaos. We brought neighbors together. For once, people were outside talking, laughing, connecting. Isn't that what community means?" The board members exchanged glances. Karen interrupted, "They vandalized my grass. There are footprints." Mia replied, "Grass grows back. Memories don't." A murmur rippled through the room. Even one board member hid a grin. Karen slammed her clipboard. "This is outrageous. They need to be fined or removed." That's when Mr. Thompson, the elderly neighbor who rarely spoke, stood from the back of the room. "I've lived here 30 years, he said. "That concert was the best thing this neighborhood's seen in decades. I say we let them play on my lawn next time." Cheers broke out from the other residents present. Karen's face twisted like she'd just swallowed vinegar. The board chair finally raised his hand for silence. "Given the community support, we'll issue only a formal warning. But next time, please get event approval." Karen gasped. "A warning? That's it." He nodded. "That's it." We walked out victorious, our instruments slung over our shoulders. Dylan whispered, "Guess the HOA's got some rhythm after all." But just as we reached the parking lot, my phone buzzed, a new message from an unknown number. "This isn't over. You embarrassed me. You'll regret it." It was from Karen, and I had a feeling she meant every word. For a few days, things went quiet. Too quiet. Karen didn't yell, didn't glare, didn't even peek from behind her curtains. It was like she vanished. Dylan joked, maybe she joined a meditation class. Mia shook her head. "No, she's planning something." She was right. That Friday morning, we woke up to a sight straight out of a sitcom. A massive banner hung across our garage door. In bold red letters, it read, "Noisy menace to society. HOA watching you." Karen stood across the street, arms crossed, phone in hand, filming as neighbors gathered around. I walked up to her calmly. "Morning, Karen. You making a documentary?" "Evidence," she snapped. "For my next meeting. You won't get away with your rock circus again." I smiled. "Oh, we're not planning another concert." Her eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Good. Because this time," I continued, "the city is. You see, ever since our performance went viral, the local recreation center reached out. They wanted us to headline a community music night, officially sponsored by the city. Posters had already gone up. Neighborhood Harmony, featuring the Garage Revival." Karen's jaw dropped. You're joking." "Nope," Dylan said, handing her a flyer. "You're invited." That night, the parking lot outside the rec center was packed. Families, teens, even HOA members showed up. Karen arrived too, clipboard in hand, ready to find something to complain about. But the mayor was there, too. He stepped on stage before our set began and said, "This event celebrates community spirit and these talented neighbors who brought people together with music." Karen froze. The crowd applauded. I grabbed the mic. "This one's dedicated to everyone who ever got a noise complaint." The place erupted with cheers. We kicked off with our hit song, HOA Blues, a playful jab at Karen's crusade against us. The chorus went, "Karen's got a clipboard, rules in her hand. But we've got guitars, we're the neighborhood band." Even the HOA board members laughed. But Karen? She tried to record us again, until one of the event organizers politely told her, "Ma'am, please step back from the stage." Halfway through the show, she finally cracked a reluctant smile when the crowd started chanting her name. "Karen, Karen, Karen," not in mockery, but as part of the fun. By the time we finished, she was red-faced, but oddly quiet. Afterward, as people packed up, she approached us. "Your lyrics were inaccurate," she muttered. But the kids seemed happy. "So, good job, I suppose." Dylan grinned. "Did we just get a compliment?" Mia whispered, "Mark the date. It's historic." Karen rolled her eyes, but almost smiled before walking off. The next morning, there was no notice on our garage. No banner. No lecture. Just silence. Peaceful, earned silence. And when I saw Karen watering her flowers later that day, she gave a tiny nod. Victory never sounded so sweet.